Welcome to Samutsari, Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Dinosocial, also a member of the Gorilla Podcast Syndicate. Samutsari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Lorilla.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Samutsari Conversations with Mimi, a podcast featuring topics and other topics of interest for both men and women alike. And I am your host, Mimi Laurelia. Welcome you to another interesting, exciting episode. Alam niyo naman po, here at Samutsari, we feature guests to share their passion and commitment to their profession or talents. Here at Samutsari, we share stories to inspire you, stories from ordinary people who do extraordinary things. That's the main purpose or why or reason why Samutsari was born. And in season 2, we talk about things that have happened online to most people, but sometimes we go back to the main purpose of the show, which is really get into the heart of people's minds and get their information, education, and other insights para marami po tayong matututunan. And today is no exception. And like I said, every time na may guest tayo dito, especially males, very rare tayo nagkakaroon ng mga male guests. Pag may male guest tayo, talagang saludo ako sa kanila dahil alam ko ang mga stories nila ay through the roof. And today, we have Mr. Sean Luke Dado. He is a businessman. Mamaya, tatanungin natin siya kung ano yung business niya. I will let him describe what he's doing. I know he is from the same university as my husband. In fact, they're friends. They are buddies. They go back noon pa. Sean, welcome to Samutsari Conversations with Mimi. Please greet my listeners and my viewers.
Hello everyone. Hi Mimi, thank you very much for inviting me. Kumusta sa lahat ng mga viewers mo?
Thank you,
Very
Sean.
happy to be here. Thank you.
Actually, ako nga dapat magpasalamat dahil alam ko very, very busy ka. Marami kang ginagawa sa kasalukuyan. But your precious time with us today is really, really appreciated. So today I want to talk about a love story from a male point of view. Medyo kakaiba yung ating love story. Pero bago yan, Sean, can you give us a snapshot of who you are as a businessman? Ano ba talaga tong business mo? Ano pinagkakabalahan mo? Are you based in the Philippines? Are you based abroad? Where are you situated right now, and what are you currently doing?
I'm here in the Philippines, and mga 6 years ago, I started the coffee plantation sa Benguet. So yung family ko, they were staying here in Manila, and I was going back and forth sa Benguet, trying to get it started, and things were going well naman, but nung nag-start na yung pandemic, I got stuck here sa Manila because of the lockdowns and travel wasn't allowed between provinces. So I was able to travel to Benguet, I think 3 times since the start of the lockdown, 3 times only, and only once after we got sick with COVID last year.
Okay. So Sean,
yeah.
paano pinapatakbo ng isang businessman ang kanyang business kung siya ay wala sa opisina niya, which is your farm? How do you manage to do that?
First of all, you have to have somebody that you can trust. Somebody you can delegate your all the things that you have to do. Somebody who can take charge there. And ngayon, we have to do it by phone calls, by video calls. And it's hard because you don't really know what's happening there. You only have to rely on what they report to you, and it's hard in the province because we're in the middle of the mountains, and sometimes people are cutting trees or encroaching into your property, and without you being there, it's really hard to tell what's really happening. So I want to have a chance to get back there as soon as I can, but for now, I don't have a choice but to trust my caretakers and my men who are there.
How exciting is that? So Sean, yung iyong business na coffee plantation, are you supplying locally or are you importing your products?
We're just starting yung aking mga plants. Actually, there was a typhoon a few months ago, and a lot of my plants, a lot of my trees, my coffee trees got wiped out. So we're not at a stage yet where we're big enough to supply outside of the local area. But hopefully, if I can replant again, because that's one of the things that I have to do to replant again. Eventually, if things go well, hopefully I'll be able to supply in Manila, and who knows, maybe overseas.
Yeah. You know
That's a long way off.
I know, I'm thinking positively for you because I know that the coffee from your region sa Benguet, no, sa upper north, they're very, very popular, and for some reason they're highly regarded. So I think there is a future there. Let's just wait for the right timing. Sabi ko nga, things will get better. And hindi mawawala ng demand for your kind of coffee. Even my pamangkin sa pinsan, he gets his coffee beans from Benguet, and he brews it sa Manila, and then he markets it as a gourmet kind of coffee. But marami din siya mga blends. So I know for a fact how precious your commodity is. So talagang I'm thinking positively for your business. And you've given us also a snapshot of how you have to kind of adjust to the difficulties of having a farming business amidst the pandemic. Pero Sean, I'm interested in your story. Nabanggit ko kanina at the beginning, this is a different love story. It's a love story that para siyang how do I express this? Para siyang nag-bloom in a different way at the time of the pandemic. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your family story in terms of how you all had COVID was one of the early cases or much publicized cases sa Philippines, na TV na kayo, na radyo pa kayo, na yung story nyo na was even broadcasted and shared overseas. It's because parang we don't know a lot about COVID at that time when it happened to you. So can you just, although it might be a little bit painful to do this, but for the sake of our listeners who will be hearing your story for the first time, in a snapshot, ano ba ang nangyari sa pamilya nyo last year? Paano kayo nagka-COVID that led to you ultimately moving to the different stage of your life? Kumbaga, nag-iba ang mundo ni Sean at that time. So are you happy to share a little bit about that to us?
Oh, yes. When COVID started kasi, parang we didn't know it would last this long. And we didn't know how bad it would get. So, yung buong Pilipinas, all the lahat, the bayanihan spirit at that time was very strong. Nung umpisa ng COVID, everybody was donating whatever medical supplies was needed, mga PPEs, mga food for frontliners, everything. Malakas yung bayanihan spirit, and we were part of it also. Nung first few months, we were donating PPEs. We were gathering them from Singapore, from friends overseas. And ako mismo, I would bring them to the hospitals. But when things started getting serious na, marami na nagkakasakit, we stopped doing that na, and talagang we followed the lockdown na talaga na. We stayed at home as much as we can. And before that lockdown, I was starting my farm already. So I was spending a lot of time in Benguet. I was there full time, and I would only go home kung weekends or every other weekend. I would ride my motorcycle from Manila to Baguio, and then I would rest there overnight and switch motorcycles and ride the motorcycle again for 5 hours to the farm. And that would be my routine. And in reverse, babalik din ako when I had time every other weekend. I would ride my motorcycle again from Benguet all the way to Manila. But when the pandemic started, yeah, it's part adventure na rin for me, part na rin. But when the pandemic started, dito na ako naabutan ng lockdown. I got stuck here. Then it was a blessing in disguise na rin, because the last few months na we were together, we were able to spend those months together, kami ni Hazel. And dito kami sa house, and somehow we were married 30 years, but yun na yung time na we were together na matagal talaga, na every day for those months we were together, and I'm very grateful that happened. It was
Yeah.
blessing na rin. It was,
But blessing in disguise talaga yon. So for people who do not know, so Hazel and Sean were parang college sweethearts pa kayo. You can consider yourself college sweethearts or high school
Yes.
sweethearts. College sweethearts,
yeah.
di ba?
college na, yeah.
And of course, when you know that she is the one or she was the one, talagang kept din na kayo from the very start. And then you have two children, if I'm not mistaken. You have an adult daughter who is a medical doctor and a frontliner, and you have a younger daughter. And from my understanding, then you also have a grandson. Ilang mga grandkids mo? Isa lang ba?
I have two.
You have two. You have two.
Kids, yeah.
So, ito bang COVID, sa palagay mo ba, that was just a random thing that happened to you guys? Or did you think na one of you or even yourself caught it somehow at that time last year?
When it happened, we were confident that we were going to make it through this pandemic. Kasi we were following all the rules, all the guidelines of the World Health Organization, of the Department of Health. We were sticking to the rules, to the guidelines, and we were confident that as long as we stuck to the rules, we didn't go out. If they said stay at home, we stayed at home. That there was no reason why we would not make it through the pandemic. Kaya lang, as it's turning out, here in the Philippines, I think it's inevitable that everybody will get infected, or at least one family member will get infected. I don't know anybody now here without a family member who's not been infected. I think it's really going to happen because of the situation. We're very overpopulated here in Manila. It's so crowded here. The population is so dense. It's really going to spread, and it started happening then last year, and it's even worse now.
It's even worse. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
so
even
parang
worse
hindi, mas mahirap sigurong i-monitor ngayon yung mga cases every day. It's either you'll get sick of looking at the numbers, or lalo ka lang madedepress sa mga nakikita mo sa paligid. Pero let's go back last year. Are all of you healthy, or was Hazel sick in a way na siya parang pinakanatamaan ng grabe, or again, she was just the random person in the family na unfortunately ang naging mas ang condition last time. Siya ang parang napuruhan, excuse the word, pero if your family got it and then she was the one na parang na-hospitalized ng matagal, what was that situation like, Sean?
We were all healthy, and if there's one thing lang na comorbidity niya, it was because she was overweight. But other than that, she was healthy in every way.
Yep.
We had regular checkups, we had regular tests, and yun lang, she wasn't in the best of fitness. She was healthy, but she wasn't fit because we didn't have a chance to exercise. We couldn't go out, go walking, or and we just said we'll just get through this. Anyway, it won't take this long. It won't take that long, and then afterwards we'll address all our health issues. If we're overweight, if we need to diet, if we need to exercise, we're gonna take care of all of that once this pandemic ends. So parang it was very random. And it's so random now because a lot of people are getting sick, a lot of people are dying here who are young, who are fit. They don't have any comorbidities, but it's just COVID is so random. Sometimes the elderly survive and the young ones don't. Sometimes the sick, those who have comorbidities, they get infected but they get through it. But it is just, it's
walang pinipili si COVID. I remember that even Bishop Abilio of the administrator that time, senior citizen na yon, nagka-COVID, but he looks frail, but he was strong. I mean, he got through it. I have other friends in the Philippines who also got COVID. They got through it. And to tell you honestly, my brother who was in Canada became a close contact of a colleague, went overseas, bumalik sa Canada, hindi niya alam may COVID siya. At that time, they had babies less than a month old, twins, nanganak yung sister-in-law ko. They had COVID. The twins
Oh, no.
were in the hospital, but they had mild symptoms. But still, you worry.
Yeah.
So really, COVID can hit anyone, and the reason why I kind of have a theme around our episode today, which is about the COVID love story, is because I can feel it, Sean. Last year when we knew what happened to you, and we were following your story, and until the very end, we were there to condole with you when Hazel passed. Yung parang walang preparation eh. That situation never prepared you for what is to come. I felt that you just had to deal with it as the events unfolded. Did you and Hazel have the chance to namnamin, kumbaga, yung mga last few moments ninyo, or how is that experience like for you?
When Hazel was in the ICU, we talked as if she was going to get well. Kasi we didn't want to discourage her, we didn't want to scare her. So kahit alam na namin yung possibility na kung anong pwede mangyari, lalo na yung daughter ko who's a doctor, she knew how serious the situation was. I couldn't talk to Hazel as if she wasn't going to get well. I had to try to strengthen her and try to encourage her that you're gonna go home. So that's how we were talking. So hindi na namin napag-usapan yung mga important na things kasi I couldn't and everybody was praying for us, everybody was encouraging us, saying, claim it, believe in God, have faith. And I couldn't compromise that faith. I couldn't I had to full-heartedly believe that she was going to get well. Even in the back of my mind, I knew the possibility that she wasn't going to get well. I couldn't entertain that thought in my mind.
Mm-hmm. You just have to be strong for her at that time din eh. Yung bang tipong marami tayong naririnig na of course sasabihin natin kapit lang. But marami rin akong mga other COVID stories na talagang your parang positivity, yung alisin mo muna yung negativity at that moment really helps you to move forward and hope for the best, something like that, ano? So I'm pretty sure nakatulong yan. I think it's very special this story that you have because like I said, she was a very good mom and she was very loving and all of that. Tapos biglang nawala si lifetime partner mo. How are you coping with the fact that you have to be both the mom and the dad now to your kids and the grandma and the granddad for your mga apo? How is life now adjusting to everything that's happening? Meron bang sense of adjustment or naninibago ka pa rin ba or you still can't believe it, Sean?
I think forever na tong adjustment na to eh. I don't think there will come a time when you say we're adjusted now, we're okay now. This is that. I think it's going to be an ongoing process until we all grow old and they all grow up. I think it will be continuous. There won't be a time that it will end. We're okay na. You just have to live with it. And for my part, I have to remind myself na I'm not the only one who lost Hazel. Yung daughters ko, nawalan sila ng mommy. Yung grandkids ko, nawalan sila ng grandmother. And I have to think of my kids and in a way, that'll prevent me from thinking too much about myself, about my own loss. Kasi it will be unbearable if I keep thinking about what really happened that I won't see her anymore.
That's
so
right.
I have to focus on them.
Yep.
So I'm still adjusting and I never realized how hard it is to be a mom. Even the little things to comfort your kids when they're parang because she was the one who always did that and now I have to do it. I have to make sure they brush their teeth, all those things na I took it for granted that she was taking care of everything. Now I have to do it. I appreciate how hard it is.
One thing that really resonated with me is when you mentioned some time ago na kaya pala parang maaga kayo ni Hazel naging kayo kasi maaga rin pala na hindi kayo magkakasama, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just too deep for me, Sean. I can't really even articulate that. Pero napaka-profound nung nasabi mo na yon. Are you always reflecting on that fact until now?
Yeah, I'm very conscious of that na yun talaga yung nangyari. Although, I try not to think that way. Parang I try to think of the good times. And ano na rin. Yeah, that's one way. But it's hard then to think about it because your mind, sometimes you can't control your mind. It wanders. From even if you're trying to be positive, it goes in one direction and another direction. Before you know it, you're feeling sorry for yourself now you're full of regrets. And when you regret a lot of things, there's nothing much you can do. You can't go back in time. You can't fix it. So parang you just have to move forward.
Yeah.
Just have to move forward lang talaga and you know.
Kaya ikaw talaga ang pillar ng inyong tahanan ngayon. Ikaw ang haligi na iyong tahanan. So you have to be exuding that strength kahit na minsan you feel na nagbabakil ka din. Sean, let me tackle naman this aspect of your story na parang naging viral siya, naging trending siya, naging nag-spread talaga siya, no? Was it both good and bad na parang na-feel mo ba na why are you guys encroaching into my private life? Pwede namang sa amin na lang tong story namin. Was that difficult for you because hindi naman talaga kayo parang celebrity but you were forced into the limelight? How was that feeling like you were inundated by media, by people who wanted to know your story? You have to say that over and over again amidst your grief, bereavement period, and all of that.
I think for me it was a good thing. It was kasi I really wanted to share her story also. And when that happened, I got a lot of messages from a lot of people, and I got to know a lot of people who encouraged me and offered me prayers, and I started getting to know and when the invitations came to talk about her, I didn't want to turn down any kind of invitation because I wanted people to know about her and for those who already knew her to remember her. Not to forget her kasi yung COVID, it parang took her away, parang it erased her because that's what COVID does. Ina-erase niya yung mga tao eh. One day you're here and then the next day you're gone. There won't be any wakes anymore, walang mga masses, walang mga ano. So when that came, every time I got invited sa mga to speak about her, I took the chance. Even if it was hard for me, I took the chance to accept her invitation because it would feel like I would be doing the opposite if I withdraw into myself, if I withdrew into myself and I didn't want to talk about her. It would be the opposite of what I'm trying to do na I want people to remember her and to know her.
Yeah. So parang part dali ng healing process siguro yun, ano? That's
Yes.
a part of what you had to go through and parang naging advocacy mo na rin itong naging story nyo. I feel that there was also a purpose for why this happened, not just for yourself and as part of your healing, but to help educate other people about ano ba talaga ang how COVID changes the family dynamic, how COVID changes relationships and all of that. Are you still active in the COVID space, if I might want to call it? There's no other way to describe it, ano? How are you helping other people who are in a similar situation or with a family member may COVID? And there was a post from you very recently that you accompanied your daughter to something like a medical mission or something like that. So how have you extended your COVID story now to helping other people, Sean, which is the other positive thing in a way that's been happening?
Yeah. Yung ngayon kasi parang it's ano na, parang smaller na yung ano ngayon. It's more private na the way I help people. It's not like the way it was last year na parang it was communication in a large scale. Now it's more one-on-one. It's more with people. I've been attending Bible studies and uh, these kinds of talks na I speak to smaller groups of people. Yung to parang not really naman inspirational talk, but sometimes I share sa mga small groups about my experience para so we can all relate, and I get a lot of input and insight from other people also. Parang we're helping each other out sa mga so ganun na. It's in smaller groups now, but ngayon kasi now here it's survival mode eh. We're helping each other just to survive, and yung emotional support, it comes with it. But for now, talaga people are getting sick, people are getting it's parang it's not only about it's about physically surviving talaga. Now what do we do? Now we have COVID, what do we do now? And then we message back and forth, yung mga ganun. And rin, yung mga nawalan, the people have been getting in touch with me. So, parang ganun.
Yeah.
We talk din, it's more intimate na ngayon compared to last year.
That's right. So, in a way, para ka nang, you took on the role of an accidental counselor, kung tutuusin, Because of your personal experience, you are able to provide that wealth of knowledge and that insight to emotionally provide support to other people. Like you said, it's now about survival. And knowing how you've done it, napaka-reassuring din na siguro para sa mga ibang nakakarinig ng story mo na hindi ito just for the mere fact na we're opening our story to other people, but also it helps them cope. Kasi nakikita nila na if Sean was able to do it, how am I not having this sense of I can also do it? Malalagpasan ko rin to. People supported you, you support them now. So parang paying it forward yung style mo, and I think that's a good thing, and I think that helps you become really human and focus on, like you said, it's more intimate now. It doesn't have to be always broadcasted, but parang direct support yung pinoprovide mo sa mga tao. So I think there's a beauty in that. So parang nakikita mo ba ngayon, Sean, yung mga connections sa mga experiences mo? Would you think that Hazel in a way paved the way for this change in your life? And do you think it's Hazel kind of, hindi naman manipulating is the word, parang she's orchestrating you to become an instrument to others? Do you feel that way sometimes, that Hazel is always with you to push you to do some more good for others?
In a way, yes, in a big way. I feel that na rin. She's part of it. It's all part of a big plan. She's part of the big plan, and kasi when bad things happen, sometimes you just have to believe na it's all meant to be. It's a God's will, because you cannot think otherwise. If you go against, there's no way to rage against what happened. Parang if something bad happens, there's no use being angry at the world. You just have to believe that it's all written that way. That's the way it's written, and Hazel was part of it.
Yeah,
Hazel was part of it. So yeah, everything that's happened, and also it encourages us to be good, to try to be good. Kasi when it all ends, your main goal is to get to heaven also. And the only way to get there is if you do good in this life.
Totally
you can't get there otherwise. Yeah.
Yep. Siguro ang advantage mo lang meron ka ng direct line. Ato na si Hazel ngayon, yung soulmate mo. Parang she's just there, like acting like your angel, and she's always looking at you, and she's always looking after your kids and your grandkids. Tapos ito sabi niya, Sean, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to help you become an inspiration for other people. So kumbaga may direct line ka na. So para ka may call a friend. So anytime you need some guidance or advice, andyan lang si Hazel. Hindi naman, she's just physically not with us, but in spirit, she's with us, and that's the inspiring thing about that. So, what about your daughter, who's medical doctor, Sean? How is she coping with the workload naman in terms of being in the medical profession nowadays? Is she highly involved in COVID-related activities, or is she just doing her usual role?
She's right now she's volunteering sa mga vaccination efforts sa mga so she's very active there, but she's also very careful. Yung right now she's working for an international pharmaceutical company as a hindi ko alam exactly what she does. It's about research, and she compiles the research or explains it to other doctors. Parang ganun. It's all very technical, but she's not in the hospital scene anymore. She just does volunteer work, because during the time when we got COVID, she also got COVID, and she was very weak, and she was very vulnerable physically and emotionally. And the hospital was saying, we need you back right away. You have to make a decision. You have to come back right away. And this was just weeks after she lost her mom. So it was hard for her, and she had to decide. She had to decide because she wanted to take care of us, of me, her sister, her kids. And it was a hard decision, but finally she said, I have to prioritize my family. My mom just died. My family needs me. So she had to leave the hospital. And then she went into this. She's working now for a pharma company. But in her spare time, she's volunteering sa mga COVID-related programs like vaccination programs in different cities in Manila.
That's good to know that you can still what do you call that, serve in another capacity, and still make use of your love for medicine, kasi nga nag-doctor siya. So very pa rin, may extension pa rin, nandun pa rin siya sa vaccination space. Parang part na rin yan ng inyong COVID loop of experiences. And research to me is very important, because the vaccine rollout has brought about a lot of political controversy na effective ba yung vaccine yan? Ano bang itinuturok nyo sa kakatawan namin? Why are there anti-vaxxers? Why are there choosy people? Bakit hindi sila naniniwala sa mga scientists who studied the vaccine, and bakit daw ang bilis-bilis nakagawa ng vaccine? But it was a matter of urgency, no? Why would you wait 5 or 6 years? And ito na nga, nagkakaroon na ng kaguluhan sa buong mundo. And even some people say they don't trust the World Health Organization dahil baka napopoliticize. There's so many layers to this COVID story, pandemic, and you are just a microscope of that, but still your story has created a huge impact to a lot of people's lives. So Sean, if you were, I don't want to say bumalik ka sa last year and what would you advise yourself, I'm not gonna ask you that, but what I wanted to ask you is, how are you looking forward now to what the future looks like for you and your family? So ano yung mga parang parang goals mo pa, or are you just trying to chill at this time? Give us a flavor of what is it like now after a year of that COVID happening to the family?
I think now, since the pandemic is still ongoing, it's for now we can't project too much into the future. The most important thing that we have to do is to just get through this pandemic first. So yung pananaw namin, it's only until that far pa, and I can't look that far into the future also, because if I look that far into the future, parang it's gonna be very lonely for me. Parang if I think how long, like I'm 53 years old now, ilang years pa ba sa buhay ko? And I will get overwhelmed if I think I'm going to be alone for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long the rest of my life will be. If I look too far ahead, it will be too lonely for me. So parang we just have to get through whatever we have to go through now, and at the same time, just enjoy the moment and be thankful. You know what they say, madalas nila sabihin, just be grateful when you wake up in the morning. And I truly realize how true that is.
Yeah.
Because it's pandemic time. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if you're gonna be alive a month from now or 2 months from now.
Mhm.
So that's the way we look at things.
Yeah.
We're more in the now.
In the present, live in the present. Alam mo,
Live in the
maganda yung
present.
takeaway na yan. That's one of the key messages that really brings it home for me from our interaction today, na talagang yan din ang natutunan ko, na live in the present, huwag masyadong forward-looking.
Yeah.
Ano? Hindi na tayo, pre-pandemic, pwede pa siguro, no? Pero
Yeah.
now that we are in the pandemic, you're right. Today we might be talking, tomorrow we don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen
exactly.
to us. And I think that is the reason why your message is something that I would really like to share to other people, kasi yung perspective na yan baka wala sa iba. Baka yung iba procrastinating with their lives. You never know. Parang hindi naman procrastinating, maybe complacent. Complacent sila sa life nila. Or maybe yung iba naman masyado namang nag-overly worry about what the future holds, na mahirap mga ma-predict what the future is. So if you were to give your last advice, or something that you really wanted to share with others based on your experience, based on what happened to Hazel, what would that be, Sean?
Siguro to just treasure the time that you have with your family, kasi you never know, or how long it will last, how long you'll all be together. So if you have any resentment towards others, if you have any regrets or anger, just try your best to let it go. It's hard to do, because this is life. Talagang our life is full of these kinds of emotions, negative and positive. But just try to be as positive as you can, and try to be as kind to each other as you can.
Mhm.
And it won't always work. There's going to be conflict. It's part of human relations. Talagang there will be times when you can't get along with everybody, but just try to do the best you can, so you won't have too much regrets when the time comes, when it's all over.
Yeah.
You won't have too much regrets, because it's hard to live with regrets.
That's right. So parang napipick up ko sa sinabi mo, Sean, for your last piece of advice is parang talagang you can draw upon your own strength now. Para bang you don't realize you have it in you. Pero yun nga sinabi mo, focus on the now, focus on your family, focus on loving, focus on serving, focus on believing that God will help you. Talagang total shift talaga. Total shift. In the business of life, alam mo, para talagang we needed to stop and smell the roses now. Parang hindi na tayo dapat takbo lang ng takbo, no, without looking at what's around us. So Sean, I'm really, really happy that you are so generous of your time today. You're very generous with your insights, and you're very, very open with me, and obviously those nanonood sa atin today. Thank you very much, Sean, for being a part of Samut Sari. Sana magka-part 2 pag nagkaroon tayo ng time. Sometimes I invite people back because may mga nagre-request. So if may nagre-request, I hope you don't mind if we invite you again. Okay, Sean, thank you. I have to close the show now, Sean. So if for those who are listening to us, if you have any stories or any topics that you wish me to feature in the show, please reach out to me via my email, which is in the show notes. Samut Sari is a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. You can also reach out to me via my Twitter, my Facebook, or my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the programs of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, and obviously to Samut Sari Conversations with me. Thank you, Sean, so much
Thank you
for
very much,
the
Mimi.
time you
Thank
gave
you.
us. Until sa susunod po, mga kaibigan, bye for now. Bye-bye.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Guerrilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word, and don't forget to tune in next time.